Welcome to the Town of Charlton Board of Health meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 11th. All board members are present, including Jim Philbrook, department head, as well as Gary Magnuson from CMG Environmental. I guess what we'll do, Gary, is we will start off with you. If you want to give us an update, and we also asked Tracy to come from Casella. I don't know, Tracy, if you want to come join us now, or I don't know how it's going to tie in, so we'll, the closer the better, if you don't mind.
And I brought along with me Tim White from Sanborn.
Thank you. So Gary's been, let's say a couple of weeks, but it's probably been close to a couple of months since we've seen you. 6, 8, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. So I don't know if you want to give us an update of things
Yeah,
over here.
Quick update, so no new IRA status reports to talk about. The most recent one was dated mid-May, I believe. That's available on DEP's website. I summarized that in one of the emails I sent to Jim that he provided recently. So that data is available. Testing is ongoing. Everything seems consistent. There's nothing really anomalous in the data that I've seen. I've dramatically drawn back from detailed review of everything. Taking a look at emails as they come across. Pull down the IRA status reports when they come out. Read them all at night on my own time. Try to just keep up with things. One of the reasons I'm here tonight was to talk about the detections at 89 Each Road and the carbon treatment system. What should be being done, what is being done. So we can certainly talk about that. Hear what Tracy has to say about that. And as far as new information regarding the entire project, there's nothing I'm aware of. I did speak with DEP in the last week or so, but they don't have any new information. I mean, I know that the public water thing is obviously kind of on everyone's forefront, but I don't have any update on that. I don't know if Tracy or anybody else does.
Okay, well, while we have Tracy here, let's talk about the carbon. So if we finish up with you, then you can stay if you'd like, or be on your way up to you. Up to you. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just introduce quickly. So, coming, 89 Eastwood Road has a carbon treatment system to remove VOCs. Not in place to remove 1,4-dioxane, but has been removing 1,4-dioxane. The system has been removing VOCs based on what I can see. Had a detection of 1,4-dioxane in the mid carbon unit. So just so everyone here fully understands this, and Tracy, jump in if I say this incorrectly, they test the influent, which is the raw water from the well before it goes through any treatment. Then they test the mid sample, which is the water after it's gone through one carbon unit. And then they test the effluent, which is analogous to the water that comes out of the drinking water taps after it's through the second carbon. The concern with this May 16th sample was a detection of 1,4-dioxane in the mid sample at 0.206. The effluent sample collected the same day did not have 1,4-dioxane. So the protocol is the samples get collected, they get sent to the lab data comes back, Time Bond is obligated to report that information to the Board of Health, DEP, and the owners in a timely fashion. I believe that has been done timely. There was a concern here by the homeowners that it took 3 weeks to get the data, but I believe that was compliant with DEP's regulations and timely with what's going on, because the data is not available the day you collect it. So there was a detection. The board was notified. Based on the email chain, I didn't get involved, but based on the email chain, Time Bond or Casella or the advanced water quality, somebody determined that it was appropriate to change that carbon out, order that carbon change. Homeowner contacted the board, contacted Casella, contacted Ryan Bond and said, I don't think this is fast enough, we want this taken care of more quickly, are we doing it, what else can we do? I understand that, I acknowledge that there's a contaminant in your drink. My understanding is that the filter was changed out, and the testing continues on. So, what I want to talk about, a couple of questions I think we need to answer for everyone here.
Okay.
Is one, based on this information, 1,4-dioxin was not, did not get through the second carbon unit, so it was not in the effluent, the effluent, the treated water that went to the house. There is a 3-week cycle from when that second sample was collected and the data was in, and probably another week to change the carbon out, so there might be 4 weeks there. One of the questions I have for Tracy is, one protocol in addressing carbon units is to, once you have a breakthrough in the first unit, is to take that first unit out, take the second unit, slide it into where the first one was, because theoretically, that second unit is clean. When all the contaminants come through, it's stuck in the first unit. Theoretically, that second unit has never had a contaminant touch it. Theoretically.
No, not
So-
theoretically, the lab data shows that.
The lab data shows that that the water is not impacted. I don't know if you guys have tested carbon. We don't know if the absorption components of the carbon have taken any contaminants. I agree with you that the lab data in between shows it's below detection. There could be some contaminants below detection getting there. With the 1,4-dioxin, we don't know what's going on. So my only question is, 1,4-dioxin below 0.15 may exist, may not exist. If 1,4-dioxin at above 0.15, say 0.206, is getting held up in the first carbon, is there any 1,4-dioxin getting held up below 1.5, 0.15 in the second? I don't know that. Not a big issue at this point, but I want to understand the protocol. Is the protocol to change both units out, or is it to switch the second one, put a new one where the first one was?
The protocol is to switch the second one into the primary treatment vessel and install a new second.
And that's industry standard
Right.
everywhere in the
That's why we
Commonwealth.
installed double canister systems.
Yeah, that's how you do
To ensure
it.
that there was plenty of buffer time to be
Yeah.
able to accommodate the maintenance and sampling of the systems. I don't
So,
want-
so the question is that sufficient enough? Have the 2 units in place, testing them monthly, quarterly, because some are tested quarterly. Does that give you enough time to
We
catch
don't
it?
have any bullet systems on each one we're testing for.
Not in this project,
They're
no.
monthly.
Not in this
That's
project.
correct.
I'm saying, in other, I'm using industry standard, there are ones that are quarterly. Monthly, so the question has come to me of what else can be done? Should something else be done? Should the carbon be changed out more quickly? Should it be on a standard change out every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? So without making a research project out of it, I kind of fall back on the science. The science of it says the standard engineering practice that they're using is working. The monthly testing is showing if there's a problem in the influent, you change, you put the second one in front, you switch the other one.
Yep.
So scientifically, I can't say they should do something different.
Okay.
I think from a perspective of, is there other things that could be done above that? You could put a third unit on. You could change both units instead of just changing one unit. But I don't think the scientific data supports that at this point. I think the most important thing that I can say is the system is designed to remove the VOCs, and it's doing that effectively. The 1,4-dioxin removal is not designed for it, it's doing it. And bottled water is being provided to address the 1,4-dioxin. Even no, I don't want any of you guys to be drinking that water if it has any potential contaminant in it. But the DEP regulation says you must eliminate or mitigate that CEP. The system, while it's not designed to do it, is doing it, and the bottled water is there to do it. So there's already a duplicative system in place to address it. So that's my position on where it sits.
So, and thank you, Gary, for giving us an understanding on that. And that was addressed to us, and it was Tracy, the time lag from basically a potential month, and then it was, could it have gotten to the effluent on that, in that time period? So, you know, and the same thing, we know the scientific data shows that, you know, it's not, it hasn't, but the fear of the homeowner drinking that water is real, and they, you know, so that was a concern, and so we just hadn't seen you in a while anyways, so we, you know, usually we check in anyways, so we said, well, you know what, we'll ask Tracy and maybe even invite her to the meeting. So I guess, you know, and I'm not asking for an answer right now, but basically just gonna throw it out on the table, food for thought, or maybe you can bring it back to your team and maybe get a yes or a no, was the timing of that changing of the filter. So I guess what was said was, there's other systems out there now that they've been in place, and if you look back, System X has been changed twice now. I think there's one that's been,
There's only one that's been changed twice because we perceived there was an issue with the carbon. So
Okay.
we wanted to be super proactive
Yeah.
and careful, and we changed both of them out.
yeah, no, we know you guys are on it.
Yeah.
So we understand that, and we
Yeah.
appreciate that. But we're trying to say, well, even the system that we're talking about right now, okay, so now we know that it was having a failure or getting saturated after X amount of months.
Yep.
And so maybe for a protocol, if we would change that, or like the protocol is switch that filter out a little bit sooner, we could just mitigate that, get into the midpoint. So that's basically what
Yeah,
we
so
want to talk about.
with the 10 systems that we have out there, we just recently installed 11.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a good chunk of systems that we're looking at, and they're all performing near identical.
Okay.
All right, so we know that we've got at least, I would say 10 to 11 months before we are starting to see breakthrough on average.
Okay.
All right, so if you're looking at a dual canister system, which is what we decided to install so that we would have a second layer of protection. I mean, a lot of systems that are installed are single canister systems.
Okay.
That's not what we did. We did 2 canisters so that we could have that second protection. So you've got one canister that's giving you, say, 10 or 11 months of life before it's showing any breakthrough. Okay, then you've got another canister there that is going to give you another 10, 11 months before it sees breakthrough. So that is the redundancy that we built into the system. So I don't see a need to expand that, you know, to a third canister, well, then a fourth one, I mean, at what point is it that you've got enough treatment there? So, you know, 10, 11 months, I know that when we all kind of came in, so we said, well, what can we do for the 1,4-dioxane? And there was nothing out there that would say, hey, we'll treat 1,4-dioxane down to an ultra-low level of 0.3. And luckily, we've seen that these treatment systems are doing that effectively. The sampling protocol of sampling once a month, there are duplicate samples that are also collected. So in the case of 89 H-Foot Road, if they take the raw water sample, that influent sample, and they get a detection on that, they have to run the duplicate. Okay, so that adds a little bit of time. But again, you're talking, are you gonna make it, Jim?
Yeah.
Wrong tube?
Sorry, yes. Drinking orange stuff.
Yeah. So, you know, this is drinking water supply, so we want to make sure that the detections are verified. So that second sample is run, you know, which in the case of that, and we've looked at all of our sample times, and the returns on those from the labs, we're really not seeing anything that was out of the ordinary, dropped, missed, forgotten, or anything like that. This was the applicable turn time for the samples, and running those duplicates and getting the correct data out to be reported. So, you know, I understand the concern, you know, but the system is designed to be sampled and identified when you start having a breakthrough. And Advanced Water Quality has been very responsive in getting out there and contacting residents and making sure that they're meeting the schedule for the residents. So, I don't know the exact date between when we called Advanced and the treatment system spot. I don't know that exact date off the top of my head.
I think it was about a week, Mark, is that about right, a week or so?
What's that?
From the time they basically placed the order for advance, by the time they get out.
Yeah, when we were notified of the breakthrough, I would say it was within a week or more that it was changed up.
Well, that was the concern that we had, and we just wanted to bring it to you. Mark, go ahead.
Actually, not to add more canisters is what our concern was. Our main concern was, the protocol on a well gets sampled. If you have a new house that has an all of a sudden, they do a quarterly sample and they show it's got 0.29 or 3.01, whatever the number is. As soon as they find that dioxin's in the well, not like a J hit, but they notify you within
24 hours.
24 hours. Our concern was we're not waiting for the data, because I know that takes time, but if there's a breakthrough, shouldn't the protocol then be, there's a breakthrough in the first one? That was our concern, because by the time they took the sample, they know within 24 hours that that midfluent has had a breakthrough. And the big concern was, I could be wrong on that, but my big concern was, it wasn't like it was 0.3 coming in and a detection going through. The coming in and going out were very similar.
Your point three coming in, point two going.
Right,
So
which are
taking
pretty
out
close.
66, yeah.
So it almost like it was a flushing, which our concerns was from the beginning with the 1,4-dioxin, is that the carbon is holding the 1,4-dioxin, but we know that that likes to be in water. So at some point as it builds up, the system might just flush. And unless you're taking samples daily or whatever, you don't know when that flushing is gonna be. So we're saying generally 10 months, well maybe it happened sooner, we don't know. When you have what's coming in and what's going through almost identical, generally when something starts to seep through, you got a lot coming in, and as it starts to seep through, you got real small amounts, and as the leak builds, it builds with it. This is almost like it flushed, and we caught it in the flush, which then tells me that that flushing could have been going on for a month, meaning that all of that now is going into the second one, and it's a month later, and who's to say that nothing broke through in that month? That's why my concern would be, when they take those samples, if there's a breakthrough on the first one, instead of waiting a month for the data, can't they do a protocol like they do for the wells, period, and say within 24, 48 hours that, hey, we got a breakthrough, we need to do something?
So I think I can answer that.
Okay,
They're already doing that. So on June 7th,
okay,
Board of Health, DEP, everyone was notified of samples collected May 16th. So they got the data, presumably June 7th or June 6th.
right,
So the day they got the data, the board was notified, you were notified, Advanced Water was notified, and it was, the protocol went into place to fix that, to change that. So there is no 1 month cycle. The other thing that's important to see here is, you're absolutely right, the influent was, let's call it 0.3, 0.296.
right,
The mid was 0.206, call it 0.2. And the effluent was non-detect or less than 0.15. So the only way to answer your question and to show that 1,4-dioxin didn't get through, because I think we have to make the assumption that if it gets through once, it's gonna get through twice, 3
Mhm.
times, 4 times. Would be to take an effluent sample the day you change the carbon,
Would you?
before or after.
Well, it's after the
Right.
sample
So my-
has changed,
to
but
help-
you've got your data right there to
Right.
show you that there was no flush through in the
To
effluent.
answer his question, I'm
Mhm.
ultra conservative on that. So May 16th, we've got 0.3 in the raw, 0.2 coming through the mid, less than 0.15 at the effluent. On June 15th, the carbon gets changed out. So it's now been 29 days. If you collected an effluent sample
Before we changed it.
on June 15th, before you changed it, and 1,4-dioxin was below 0.15, now the homeowner would feel, I don't want to say 100% confident, but he would have data. That's not normal protocol.
No, and I think we still have that data, because remember, the second canister now becomes the lead canister, and it is sampled right after the new second canister is put on, so we have that data for that canister, we have the performance information.
Well, when a water sample is taken, it takes 3 weeks for them to do the test.
Yes, it does.
Because I thought I remember that when they come to the house originally and get a water sample, if you had detections in your water, we were notified within a week that you had detections. As soon as the lab does the test, and they had detections, we were notified within days of the sample. Not waiting until after all the data and the paperwork was done. It was right away, like we just did a sample, we have a detection, and get notified right away.
When the project initially started, DEP mandated 24, 48,
40-hour turns.
72-hour turnaround.
Right.
As you guys all know, the 1,4-dioxin test is difficult at best, and to get it turned around quick is I don't know if it affects the quality, it certainly affects the price, but that's, I'm worried about price at this point. But 2 weeks is normal. So what's probably happening, as Tracy said, is they took a sample, they got a detection. If they got a detection, they have to run the duplicate. It doesn't add another 2 weeks, but it adds time before they get everything. So 2 to 3 weeks is not uncommon for the data. And I presume that this email that went out on June 7th, they were getting notification from the lab of the detections, because drinking water, the lab needs to notify you. We get emails from the lab all the time when we get drinking water detections. A lot of times we get a couple hours, we'll get the confirmed results. I'd like to have those confirmed results before we publish that information. That's probably what happened here.
So I just wanna, note, again, Mark, you're a Charlton resident, this is Charlton Board of Health, so, but we're also trying to work with the Southbridge company, so we can't tell them what to do or mandate anything. At this point, they're in compliance with this issue with Mass DEP.
Right.
So, what we wanted to do is address, your concern firsthand with Tracy as part of the Casella team. And, we've asked her to take it back to her team and see if there's anything we can do about it.
Well, I'm not telling anybody that they have to change your protocols and do this and do that. My concern was, the test was done, it was a month later that there was a change out. So when the test was done, there was 29 days of that toxic going through the first one into the second one, and that's 29 days of, did the first one hold it up or didn't it? And the only results we have is the one day that they did a test afterwards to see. You know what I mean? So when they did the test, they tested the effluent and there was nothing going through. But then it was 29 days later that they changed it and then tested it again. But all I'm saying is, who really knows? If we had no detection of 1,4-dioxin in our water at all up to this point, and then all of a sudden in June 16th, we had not a J hit, but geez, you've got a 0.3. I think we would have known about it long before a month had gone by. I'm just saying that if there's a breakthrough, is there a way to be notified or something done sooner than a month? Because now we have one barrier instead of two, keeping us from the danger, and we gotta hope that that one barrier holds out for 4 weeks or so before we get that second one put back in. It just seems like as soon as there's a breakthrough like that, maybe something could be done to accelerate it so it doesn't go.
John, did you have something?
Yeah, is it, I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, but at 70 H-foot, is it true that 1.4 was detected in the effluent? And if so, what's the summary of what happened there? Or how did, I think I saw that it wasn't in the mid, but it was in the effluent, so it was something kind of weird. So is there a, can we get a summary of that, of what actually
I
happened?
believe there was an update on that, and I think it was a false negative, or Gary, I don't know if you remember that, but it came back as a bad sample, and I believe they resampled it.
On the effluent?
I believe so.
We wanted to be careful and not chalk it up to any sort of a sampling problem, and we immediately changed both canisters to be safe.
So I don't know, Gary, if you.
I don't, that's kind of the same information I saw.
Yeah.
Because it was detected in a, I think it was one, but not the two, if I remember.
I'm not, I don't want to say that, I don't have that data.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we have the CBOH system at our house also. Back when we were first notified of contamination almost 2 years ago now, on my own, I actually went out and I contacted a whole bunch of different filter companies that filter water. Heard of Culligan, probably half a dozen. Not one of them will guarantee that they can remove 1,4 dioxin. And I think it's a false sense of security to think that we're actually filtering this stuff out. I mean, I agree with Mark, it's maybe trapped in the filters. The only way to prove that, obviously, is to, you know, take samples of the carbon and see what you find there. But, I mean, you could put 3 filters in there, you're not going to convince me to remove them. I just think it's a false sense of security by saying that we're filtering out 1,4 dioxane, unless you can actually find me a manufacturer that will back that up. I can't.
Yeah, and I think it's been open on the table that no one's claiming that it will, or will stand behind the fact that it will, so it's kind of a bonus, if you will, that it has been doing that. But you have to keep in mind, from my point of view, is that CEP has been addressed by bottled water. So the 1,4 dioxane, even though it may be being mitigated or may not, the whole CEP, which is our main concern, is mitigated through the bottled water, so. Jim?
I was attended a Sturbridge Board Health meeting, and their environmental engineer stated there is a filter that can filter it out. I've never seen it. I've looked, I've had the WPI engineers look into it.
I was there at that meeting.
Yeah, and you with,
That's right.
There are some filter systems,
There are
Jim,
some
that will do it,
It's too
they're
expensive.
cost prohibitive, very
So-
cost prohibitive.
and I think ultimately, the water line is in progress, so I think all of this hopefully will move along quickly. The pump station should be installed. We're working on that, Kleinfeld goes in, so. Let's mitigate everything.
Do you have anything?
No, it's something that I understand they're gonna get. Really smart,
Well, you're talking about there's a specific eastern portion of the landfill that, yeah, we've got interim capping that will eventually be moved to permanent capping. Yeah, but that's not, that's not this construction season, that, we still haven't even permitted that through the department yet. That's pending, yeah.
Anything else? John? Tracy, thank you for
That's it.
coming in.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you much.
welcome to stay if you'd like, or you can hit the road. Thank you for coming in, appreciate it, thank you.
See you later.
See you, Tracy.
Bye.
Gary, while we're still on this subject, you want to address the letter that we got yesterday? This letter?
Yes.
Briefly, just a,
So, letter dated July 7th. Notice of non-compliance that addresses nuisance odors essentially from the landfill.
Letter from who to?
Letter from, actually it's from James Quaid, section chief, to Thomas Q at Southbridge Recycling and Disposal Park.
DEP.
At DEP, it's a notice of non-compliance, and it requires, it references multiple complaints of odors, 2 DEP inspections of the property, clearly references DEP observance of the odors, nuisance odors, and references, I think I counted 26, or more than 20 third-party odor monitoring inspections in the last 7 months here to confirm the observance of the odors, and clearly spells out 4 requirements. Provide a plan to DEP within 14 days showing the gas collection system. Figure out an interim action to address these odors. And then within 30 days, submit a plan to DEP to address the fugitive gas emissions, which should include but not limited additional gas recovery wells. And then within 90 days, submit a plan to Mass DEP to address full covering or permanent covering of the temporarily covered area on the eastern slope.
Just to add, I spoke personally to Mary Jude Kingsley, who forwarded that to me, the attachment of the DS when I called her. She explained in length that she felt that Jim McQuaid's inspections and our, all the nuisance complaints that came out, it wasn't specifically a trash odor, but there was actually gas emissions from that side of the landfill that they kept covering and they kept moving. So they were worried about their gas collection system on that eastern slope. So she felt that that would be, merited that sending this out based on all the issues that they felt that would be a permanent cap situation to adversely affect their operations. She felt that it wasn't that we would call a odor from the trash, but it was more of admit that the gas collection system was not functioning properly.
So my understanding, in a nutshell, is DEP has kind of put a pretty strong foot down as far as the nuisance of the odors. They've given some timeframes to do certain things, and it is now put them in violation to the fact that if they don't remediate these 4 items within a certain time frame, it was talking about penalties and fines or whatnot. So it seems as though, and it also went out to Senator Goldie, Senator Fatman, Representative Frost, Smoller, and Durant. So I mean, this went across the board in Boston to all eyes and ears out there.
And I immediately forwarded it to John so we could get it to his group, so if anyone didn't get it, but as soon as I received it.
So I guess what I'm saying, all in all, is that the issues that we've been having up there with Casella, especially from the Charlton residents, and we're working, it's not done yet, but we're working on the nuisance part of it, and we're working on the water, so it seems like the energy that your team has put in, it seems like it's starting to show some dividends, and it's starting to pay out a little bit. Not quick enough, I know, but it's heading in the right direction is what I'm seeing, so it's kind of, I saw this and it was like, oof, they're finally gonna do something. We talked about this 6 months ago, and so hopefully, hopefully they're able to address those concerns. Willie, anything?
When I seen that today,
It's pretty serious. John, anything?
No, I read it, good.
they're moving the right way on the water line and cabinet now and everything else. So I think they're doing good. I hope everything is.
Hopefully for our residents up there, this, I don't want to say problem, but the issues that our residents have been having are going to go away. they're not getting worse, hopefully it's not gonna get better. And, John, sorry.
You may not have information on this, but I'd like to request it. An update on the zoning cease and desist order that was upheld. I stopped by the zoning department, asked them, where do we go from here, you know, as town? They said it's been appealed, and that's kind of it. That's not good enough for me. A cease and desist order was upheld. I think there should be notices given and fines imposed if they don't comply. I don't see why they should be allowed to tie it up in court for the next 4 years while they continue to operate, which is what their attorneys will likely do,
Yep.
I would expect, without us taking action to enforce our zoning bylaws. So I'd like to know, you know, where do we stand? Maybe I have to ask this at a Board of Selectmen meeting. I already got my answer from the Zoning Board of Appeals, which I'm not happy with. So I guess the next step would be the Board of Selectmen and ask what action is gonna be taken on behalf of the town and the citizens that signed the complaint.
I agree with you as far as my knowledge of where it goes from here. It was appealed and that's basically at that level. You know. As you're aware though, this board didn't get involved with that zoning. That was its own, department through the town, so my recommendation would be to bring it up to selectmen and get the answers from there. If you have no avail, bring it back to our attention, and we'll see if we can ask and get some answers for it. But we don't have any updates on it.
All I know is it was appealed, and the DEP said in the past, they feel that it's a necessity to have that for operational procedures. So I really haven't got involved in that. Sort of going to take its course and let the attorneys handle it, and it's upheld, but that doesn't, if it's appealed, I'm not sure that you can do much at this point.
Any other discussion on